We are on page 61 of the Interactive Student Notebook. Your page should look exactly like mine. If your neighbor's page looks different, please make sure that you assist them in getting to the right page. We are on page 61. Your page should read Important Colonies at the top of the page. We should have a grist mill that looks like a windmill. We should have 3 boxes. On the right side of your paper, you should have a church or a chapel. And underneath, it should have Rhode Island and Connecticut. All the way down at the bottom, we should have a convict next to our last box. Once again, we're on page 61. Please make sure you are on this page. Okay, the first important colony that we're going to discuss today, which we have already discussed in the past, is New York. New York originally was settled by the Dutch from the Netherlands. The Netherlands is located in Europe. New York is referred to as New Amsterdam or New Netherlands. So when the colonies were first started forming, New York, the first name was New Amsterdam or New Netherlands. The New Amsterdam or New Netherlands was taken over by the Duke of York, who was the king's brother, and renamed New York. The Dutch, who were from the Netherlands and named their colony New Amsterdam or New Netherlands, did not resist when the king's brother, the Duke of York, came to take it over because they were so upset with their leader, Peter Stuyvesant. So the Dutch didn't resist because they hated their leader, Peter Stuyvesant. We talked about this in our warm-up, and that he just had a horrible temperament and a horrible personality, and people just did not like dealing with him. Okay, so that covered our first important colony, which was New York. Now we're going to move on to our second important colony. Our next colony we're going to be discussing is the one that's going to be underneath the chapel or underneath the church. It's our second box, and it's on the east coast or on the right hand side of your page. In this area we're going to talk about 2 separate colonies, and they're both very important. One of them is Connecticut and the other is Rhode Island. Both colonies emerged or started because of the Puritans who were in Massachusetts. Remember, the Puritans wanted to purify the Church of England, and the Dutch are from New York. Our first important colony in this area is Rhode Island. Rhode Island was started by Roger Williams, who promoted the idea of separation of church and state. You can go to church and pray at your church or in your home. And then state means you have a government who's set up to protect everyone's rights and to make sure everyone has equal rights. You can't combine the two, church and state, together. Our next colony in this area where the Puritans are is they set up a colony named Connecticut. Thomas Hooker was most known for the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut, and as we talked about previously in our government in the colonies, the Fundamental Orders of Connecticut still is today considered the first constitution in the New World. So Connecticut was created by Thomas Hooker. Our last important colony that we're going to discuss today is going to be Georgia. Georgia was founded by James Oglethorpe as a defense measure, meaning that they set it up to make sure that there was a barrier between Florida and the colonies. Florida is controlled by the Spanish or by Spain, and the colonies are controlled by the English or the British. The English set up Georgia to make sure that the Spanish in Florida would not claim any of the land already claimed by the English. It was kind of an area where it was to protect the colonies in the British or in the New World, to protect the British colonies. They want to make sure that Spain stays in Florida and do not come past into the Georgia area. And if they do come past the Georgia area, they'll have enough warning from the people in Georgia that Spain is attempting to cross over into their area. Okay, so no one's going to want to live in a colony where there's a possibility that they may get um, invaded by another country like Spain. So who are you going to put in this colony? Georgia, to make sure that at least you have some people there. Oglethorpe brought people from debtor's prison. So we have debtor's prison, people who owe money, convicts, people who broke the law, and indentured servants. They went there for refuge. And refuge means that they were running away from someone trying to hurt them, or they needed a safe place to live. So those were the people who would be living in the colony Georgia. It's the buffer zone between Spanish Florida and the English colonies.